Before it's too late. One regret that destroys lives after 60. There's one decision you're making right now, this very moment, that will haunt you more than any other when you reach your final years. It's not about money, career, or success. It's about something far more precious, and once it's gone, no amount of wealth or achievement can bring it back. I want to share something with you today that might be uncomfortable to hear, but it could change the entire trajectory of your life. Over the past 15 years, I've spent countless hours talking to people in their 70s, 80s, and 90s. I've sat with them in nursing homes, in hospital beds, and in quiet living rooms filled with photographs of younger days. And what I've learned from these conversations has shaken me to my core. You see, when people reach the end of their lives, they don't talk about the promotion they didn't get. They don't obsess over the house they didn't buy or the car they couldn't afford. Those things fade into insignificance. Instead, there's one overwhelming regret that surfaces again and again with such consistency that it's impossible to ignore. And the tragedy is that most people don't realize they're making this mistake until it's far too late to fix it. The regret I'm talking about is simple, yet devastating in its impact. It's the regret of not spending enough time with the people who mattered most. It's the regret of prioritizing everything else in life over relationships. It's the painful realization that you traded irreplaceable moments with loved ones for things that ultimately meant nothing at all. Now, I know what you might be thinking. You've heard this before, right? Everyone says to spend time with family and friends. But here's the thing. We hear it, we nod along, we might even agree with it in principle, but then we go right back to living as if we have all the time in the world. We continue putting off visits. We keep saying we'll call them next week. We tell ourselves that once this busy season is over, once we finish this project, once we retire, then we'll have time for the people we love. But let me tell you what happens. Those tomorrows we're counting on don't always come. That parent you've been meaning to visit more often, one day you'll get a phone call, and suddenly all those future visits you planned will never happen. That old friend you keep saying you'll reach out to? Years will pass, and before you know it, the gap becomes so wide that it feels awkward to even try. Those grandchildren you're too busy to spend time with right now, they'll grow up, and you'll have missed the precious years when they actually wanted to be around you. I met a man named Robert when he was 83 years old. He had been incredibly successful in his career, built a thriving business, accumulated significant wealth, and by all external measures, he had won at life. But when I sat with him in his expensive assisted living facility, surrounded by all the comforts money could buy, he told me something that broke my heart. He said that he would give every penny he had, every achievement, every accolade, just to have one more afternoon with his daughter when she was young. He told me about how he missed her school plays because of meetings, how he was too tired to listen to her talk about her day because he was stressed about work, how he chose business trips over her birthday parties, always thinking there would be more birthdays, more chances to be present. His daughter was still alive, still successful herself, but their relationship had become distant and formal. The closeness he took for granted when she was little had evaporated, and despite his efforts in his later years, he could never quite get it back. The foundation of those early years, when presence mattered most, had never been built. And now, in his final chapter, he was living with the crushing weight of that absence. This pattern repeats itself over and over. I've heard it from retired executives who realized too late that their children barely knew them. I've heard it from grandparents who became strangers to their grandchildren because they were always too busy. I've heard it from people who let friendships die because they never made time to nurture them. And now they sit alone, realizing that all those acquaintances and professional contacts they cultivated mean nothing compared to the deep friendships they neglected. Here's what makes this regret particularly painful. Unlike other regrets, this one can't be rationalized away. You can't tell yourself that things worked out for the best. You can't convince yourself that you made the right choice. The absence of those moments, those relationships, those connections simply sits there like a hole in your life that can never be filled. And the older you get, the heavier it becomes. The cruel irony is that we often sacrifice these relationships for things we think will make us happy or secure. We work extra hours to afford a bigger house, but miss dinners with our spouse in the process. We take on additional responsibilities to climb the corporate ladder, but sacrifice weekends with our children. We stay glued to our phones and screens, missing the actual human beings sitting right in front of us. We tell ourselves we're doing it for our family, to provide for them, to give them a better life. But what they really want, what they'll remember, is not the size of the house or the expensive vacations. They'll remember whether you were present, whether you listened, whether you showed up. I spoke with a woman named Margaret, who was 78. She told me about her best friend from college, a woman she had been inseparable from for years. They promised each other they'd stay close no matter what. But life got busy. Margaret got married, had children, built a career. Her friend moved to another state. They called each other less and less. The calls turned into Christmas cards. The Christmas cards eventually stopped too. Margaret told me she thought about her friend often over the years, always meaning to reach out, but somehow never doing it. Then one day she saw her friend's obituary in the newspaper. She had died 6 months earlier, and Margaret hadn't even known she was sick. The guilt and grief were unbearable. All those years of, "I'll call her next month," had added up to a permanent silence. What's particularly insidious about this regret is how gradually it builds. It's not one big decision to abandon your relationships. It's 1,000 small choices, each one seeming reasonable in the moment. Skipping one family dinner doesn't seem like a big deal. Postponing one visit doesn't feel significant. Being distracted during one conversation doesn't appear harmful. But these moments accumulate. They build up like compound interest, except in reverse. Each missed opportunity creates a small distance, and over years and decades, that distance becomes a canyon. And here's something else I've learned. The people who end up with this regret often had good intentions. They weren't selfish or uncaring. They loved their families and friends. They just believed they had more time. They fell into the trap of thinking that relationships are durable, that they can withstand neglect, that there will always be another chance to connect. They prioritized urgent things over important things, not realizing that the urgent things would fade from memory while the important things would haunt them forever. Think about your own life right now. When was the last time you had a real conversation with your spouse? Not about logistics or bills or schedules, but about hopes and dreams and feelings. When was the last time you sat down with your children or grandchildren and really listened to them, giving them your full attention without looking at your phone? When was the last time you called an old friend just to hear their voice, or visited a parent just because you wanted to spend time with them? If you're struggling to answer these questions, you're not alone. Most of us are caught in the same trap. We're busy, we're stressed, we're distracted, we're always planning for tomorrow while missing today. But here's the truth that people realize too late. Those busy years pass faster than you can imagine. One day you wake up and wonder where all the time went. Your children are grown, your parents are gone, your friends have drifted away, and all those things you were so busy with, all those urgent tasks that couldn't wait, they don't matter anymore. They never really mattered. The research on regret backs this up. Studies of elderly people consistently show that the biggest regrets are not about things people did, but about things they didn't do. And overwhelmingly, these regrets center on relationships. People don't regret working less or achieving less. They regret not spending more time with the people they loved. They regret not expressing their feelings more often. They regret letting conflicts fester instead of resolving them. They regret being too proud or too busy to maintain connections. Now, I want to be clear about something. I'm not saying you should quit your job or abandon your responsibilities. I'm not suggesting that work and achievement don't matter. What I'm saying is that we need to recalibrate our priorities before it's too late. We need to recognize that relationships are not something we'll get to eventually. They're not the dessert we enjoy after we've finished all our other obligations. They are the main course. They are what gives life meaning and richness. They are what we'll treasure in our final years. So what does this mean practically? It means making different choices, starting today. It means recognizing that spending time with loved ones is not a luxury or an indulgence. It's essential. It's an investment in the only thing that will truly matter when you look back on your life. It means being willing to say no to some opportunities, some work demands, some activities that pull you away from what's truly important. It means being present when you are with people, not physically present while mentally elsewhere, but truly there. Putting down the phone, turning off the television, looking people in the eye and listening to what they're saying. These moments of genuine connection are what build relationships and create memories that will sustain you. It means not waiting for the perfect time to reach out to people. There is no perfect time. If someone matters to you, contact them today. Make the call, send the message, plan the visit. Don't assume there will be another chance tomorrow, because sometimes there isn't. It means being willing to have difficult conversations and resolve conflicts instead of letting them create permanent rifts. Pride and stubbornness feel important in the moment, but they're worthless in the long run. Relationships are too precious to sacrifice on the altar of being right. It means creating regular rhythms of connection, weekly dinners with family, monthly calls with old friends, annual trips with people you love. These don't have to be elaborate or expensive. They just need to be consistent and prioritized. I think about my own grandmother, who lived to be 94. In her last years, when I would visit her, she rarely talked about her accomplishments or possessions. She talked about people. She would light up when recounting memories of her husband, who had passed away years earlier. She would tell stories about her children when they were young. She would remember kindnesses shown by friends decades ago. Her richest treasures were all relational, and the hardest part of aging for her was losing the people she loved. But here's the beautiful thing she taught me. Even in her 90s, even after so much loss, she still invested in relationships. She called her children every week. She wrote letters to her grandchildren. She made an effort to know her great-grandchildren. She maintained friendships with people in her retirement community. She understood something profound that many people learn too late. Relationships are worth investing in until the very end because they're what make life worth living. The truth is, we all know this on some level. When we attend funerals, we're reminded of what matters. When we have health scares, we suddenly see clearly what's important. The problem is that these moments of clarity fade when we get back to our normal routines. The urgent crowds out the important once again. We fall back into old patterns. But imagine if you could maintain that clarity. Imagine if you could live each day with the wisdom that usually only comes at the end of life. Imagine making decisions based not on what seems urgent right now, but on what you'll value when you look back. How would that change the way you spend your time? How would it change your relationships? This is not about living in fear or being morbid. It's about living intentionally. It's about recognizing that time is finite and using it wisely. It's about understanding that the people in our lives won't be here forever, and neither will we. And from that understanding, making choices that align with what truly matters. So here's my challenge to you. Don't let this be just another message you hear and forget. Don't nod along and then go back to life as usual. Take action today. Right now, think of 3 people who matter to you. Maybe it's your spouse, your children, your parents, your siblings, or old friends. Think about your relationship with each of them. Are you investing enough time and attention? Are there conversations you've been putting off? Are there conflicts you need to resolve? Are there expressions of love and appreciation you haven't shared? And then do something about it. Make the call, send the message, schedule the visit, have the conversation. Don't wait for the perfect moment because it may never come. Don't assume there will always be tomorrow because for some people, there won't be. Every day is an opportunity to build and strengthen the relationships that will matter most in the end. Every day is a chance to avoid the regret that destroys so many lives after 60. Because here's the final truth. When you're in your final years, looking back on your life, you won't regret the times you chose relationships over work. You won't regret the moments you spent listening to a child's story instead of checking your email. You won't regret the evenings you spent with your spouse instead of working late. You won't regret the trips you took to visit aging parents instead of putting it off for a more convenient time. But you will regret the opposite. You'll regret every missed opportunity to connect. Every time you chose something temporary over someone permanent. Every moment you were too busy, too distracted, too tired to show up for the people who mattered. Don't let that be your story. You still have time. You still have chances. The people you love are still here. The relationships you've been neglecting can still be restored. The connections you've been putting off can still be made. But don't wait. Don't assume tomorrow is guaranteed. Live with the clarity that usually only comes too late. Choose what matters. Choose people. Choose love. Choose presence. Because in the end, that's all there is. That's what makes a life rich and meaningful. That's what you'll hold on to in your final days. And that's what will determine whether you look back with satisfaction and peace or with the devastating regret that destroys so many lives after 60. The choice is yours, but choose wisely. Choose today, because tomorrow it might already be too late.